Hello and welcome back to the Jerusalem Post. I'm Erica Schachne. With me today is Larry French of North Carolina, USA, who arrived on October 5th, 2 days before the war broke out. Larry's here to begin his master's studies in emergency and disaster management at the Tel Aviv University Lowy International School. And Larry is a solution-focused certified disaster manager with over 12 years of experience in disaster response and team management. He earned his bachelor's in criminal justice at the University of Maine, and then went into law enforcement, and he worked in policing, college security, and also took on the roles of firefighter and EMT. And Larry also did a lot of work for nonprofits in disaster management for the American Red Cross, then in public health disaster management during Corona. And his last role was at a hospital in emergency management. So despite the current situation, Larry has decided to stay on and carry on with his studies. Very impressive decision. So welcome, Larry. It's good to have you with us here today, particularly during these times. And can you tell us a little bit about your background? I know I gave a little bit of it, but
So a lot of my background has started off in really the hands-on working in fire, EMS. I worked as a volunteer, getting to do the hands-on work, helping people in the field. And then from there, I've gone into a lot more of the management of managing teams in the field, managing at the Red Cross, managing at public health. My background has always really been in those roles where I get to help people and see the difference I'm making in the lives of people who are generally going through some of the worst times in their lives.
right, right. So I guess you got to have a lot of compassion and coolness under pressure. So why did you decide to come study in Israel?
So the initial thought came from a coworker I had in the past who went through the same program here at TAU years ago and really talked highly about it. But really, when I thought about where I wanted to go to school to study disaster and emergency management, Israel is a country that has a long history of experience in disasters and emergencies. If I was going to learn how to do it, this is a country that really could teach me a lot of things that the United States may not teach me. They're going to teach me how it works in the United States, but here I'm getting perspectives from folks in Israel. I have classmates from Belarus. I have classmates from Tanzania. So I'm learning how the rest of the world also looks at disaster and emergency management. And I think that's going to make me more well-rounded when I go back to the United States, understanding how the rest of the world does the same thing that we do.
Your timing is spectacular in a certain way. So what happened on October 7th?
So we arrived on October 5th. So October 7th, we were still staying in a temporary housing for a couple of days while we kind of found long-term housing. We kind of knew what the sirens were like. We knew what they sounded like. We knew what to do with them. But people keep saying it's super rare. Don't worry about it. Like you're likely not going to have to experience it at all. So when we got here, we didn't think about where the closest shelter was. We didn't think about where we were going to go. None of those things even crossed our mind. We woke up on October 7th with the sirens going off and didn't know what to do. We didn't know where our shelter was. We got into the safest spot we felt in our apartment while we worked on figuring it out. Our landlord at the time was texting us messages with, "Are you okay? Do you know what to do? Do you know where to go?" We that morning figured out where our shelter was. We learned how to get there. But really was just trying to understand what had happened. And we're seeing the news reports from both Israel news, from US news, and just trying to understand the gravity of what happened on October 7th that changed where everyone said, it's super rare, it's never going to happen to you, to this 3 times in one day having sirens going off and just understanding what had happened.
Right. It's interesting. I think I had a very similar experience, and I was also woken up out of sleep. So it takes a few moments in general just to kind of shake it off. And it is very rare. So I can imagine having been in the country being jet lagged after 2 days, this rare occurrence becomes reality. So despite the tension, you've decided to stay. And can you tell us about your thought process?
So we started looking at what the school was saying and what the Israel government was saying and what the US embassy was saying. And nobody was saying you should evacuate. Everyone was saying, we're providing options to leave if you want to leave. There still are options to leave, but nobody was really encouraging us to leave. My wife and I, who came with me, we're both disaster responders. We both are the folks that go to disasters. We go into places where people are leaving because we want to help. And so we really feel like we can trust ourselves to know when it's not safe to be here. And so we decided this is our criteria for leaving. And up until that point, we feel comfortable staying. We learned where our shelter was. We felt confident we could be there in 90 seconds. We learned, we downloaded all the apps to make sure we're getting the alerts. And we feel comfortable knowing that we can maintain our safety here. We're not getting any information indicating that we're not safe. And so we decided to stay until we get to a point that we don't feel like we're safe here, or until people are really recommending evacuation or leaving.
Makes sense. So I understand it was very important to you to find a way to help. So what opportunities did you find?
So as I said, both my wife and I volunteer. We volunteer for a long time with a lot of disaster agencies. So like when they delayed school, we felt we needed to do something. And we started looking at the donation sites that were collecting things, or the places that were packing boxes. Challenges is that we didn't feel comfortable going very far from home. We didn't understand the bus system. We don't speak Hebrew. So there's a lot of challenges finding the right spot to get volunteered. And then the university sent out a request for volunteers for what they're calling the TAU task force. There's really a focus on sharing information with people around the world of what's happening in Israel from those of us who are here in Israel seeing it. And I have a lot of experience in volunteer management. I've experienced in kind of this kind of misinformation work and crisis communications, and felt like this is the part that I could help. And so join the task force is also an opportunity to get to the school, see other students, to get out of the apartment, which was something we were really hesitant to do for a while. And I've got in the role now doing volunteer management, which is something I have a lot of experience in. And I feel like I'm now helping make a difference in the story that Israel's trying to tell the universities and professional organizations around the world.
We're lucky to have you. Can you describe your typical day?
So a lot of right now we're going for a walk every day with our dog. We're taking a mile or two walk, and we're using it as an opportunity to find the restaurants we want to try, to find those activities we want to go to. So we pick a different direction every day to kind of explore Tel Aviv. And as we feel more and more comfortable going further and further away from home, to kind of learn what there is in Tel Aviv to go see. 3 days a week I spend here at the university in classes. Classes started a couple of weeks ago, and so I'm doing studies 3 days a week. This task force is kind of spread throughout the day. What I'm doing now is responding a lot to emails saying, I want to help, where can I fit in? Or from our team saying, I'm looking for a person to do this role, where can you find someone? And so I'm sporadically helping out with task force stuff. And then this past week, I started my internship, which is going to be 1 day a week. I'm spending my internship at the municipality of Ramat Gan, assisting their emergency management program. So it's a kind of mixture of stuff. And then on weekends, we're really trying to explore. We're going to new restaurants. We're going to new activities. We're really trying to enjoy our time here in Tel Aviv as much as we can while we're in the situation.
It's great that you have a little bit of time to do that as well. And Tel Aviv is a really great city. And I'm sure you know, and the country is fascinating. So I'm glad you have a little time to do that as well. So what do you think about Tel Aviv University's Lowy School program in emergency and disaster management?
I think what's really great about this program is, one, as I mentioned, we have students from around the world. So we're getting to hear this perspective on how other countries do emergency management. And a lot of the US programs really are covering how US does it. And that's what I've been doing for 12 years. So I know what the United States does for disaster and emergency management, but it's really interesting to see how Belarus is doing it, or how Ukraine is doing it, or how even Israel is doing it. And also we have a lot of instructors here, professors here who live this. This is their life. They work for the IDF. They work for public health. This is what they've been doing most of their lives. And they have a lot of experience in this. This is not folks that have just got a degree in this, but they've done research in this. They've lived this. And I'm getting a different perspective that I think would be really challenging to get back in the United States.
Very, very true. So I know that among other courses, you're attending a class in crisis communications, which nowadays is considered another front of war. So what's your experience in the class, and how much gravity, or what kind of gravity, do you ascribe to this issue?
One of the most important things in emergency management is getting people to do what you need them to do, or getting them to react the way you need them to do. Sometimes it's for their safety, sometimes it's for the support, sometimes it's just for the understanding of the situation. And one of the biggest challenges emergency management always seems to have is that crisis communication. How to provide information to people that gets them to respond and react the way we need them to react for the benefit of this emergency response. So it's been very interesting to see part of my work with the task force, part of the kind of the communications we're hearing out of this war that's going on currently, is the information they're providing. And like, we now know when the sirens go off, doesn't matter where you are, people respond very quickly to them. They know what to do, they know where to go. And that's a form of that crisis communication that Israel really has down. And then it's thinking about, how do we share information about what Israel is doing to protect themselves and what is going on across the Gaza border, and how to share that information in a way that continues to garner that support for what we're doing and for what Israel is doing right now. And it's really challenging because we have the opposing side also providing information that contradicts what we're saying. And how do we provide information that really supports what we're doing and tells the story without it becoming a fight that's unwinnable? And it's been interesting to watch that in a way that even class couldn't teach us, because we're seeing it in real time, how that communication is working and how they're trying different methods to share different information. And the experience is going to be one I'll never forget.
I'm kind of at a loss for words. I've lived here for 14 years, so I can't imagine coming 2 days before the war and now being in the perfect school or perfect program on the ground and still dealing with the realities of it. So, thank you for what you're doing, and thank you for being with us today. And I wish you guys a lot of safety and also enjoyment of the Holy Land while you're here.
Thank you.
And may your resilience continue.
Thank you.
Take care, Larry.
You as well.